This is The Sweater with Kathleen Dames. Over our 12-episode season, I will share some of my best sweater knitting techniques with you while we knit a sweater together. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 1. Yay! Today, we are going to talk about the pattern. And mostly, we're going to talk about choosing what size to knit. This seems to be an eternal question for knitters. Some people want to knit something exactly as they see it in the pattern. They want it to fit exactly the way it is in the pattern. And that's great. And other people want to customize and do all sorts of stuff and make it their own, which is also great. And that is the wonderful thing about knitting. It's so customizable. You are in charge. As I have said many times, and I'm pretty sure I cribbed this from Elizabeth Zimmerman, you are the boss of your knitting. So while you are, here with the designer's vision of something, and that's what drew you into the pattern in the first place, you also want to make sure that you make it your own so that you're really happy and really proud of it, because you are going to be putting a lot of work into this sweater, or even into the cowl. I mean, it's anytime you pick up your knitting, you should be excited about it, and either about the actual knitting or about the final product. Because otherwise, what are you doing? It's supposed to be fun, so let's have some fun. But first, we need to talk about being honest. And when you are looking at a pattern, generally there will be a list of sizes that the pattern is written for, and there should be some information about the fit of the garment on the model, whether it's on a mannequin or a person or just even laying flat. If it's just flat, there should just be basic measurement information, like a schematic that would tell you exactly what size it is. And then if it's being modeled on somebody, they may or may not include that person's size information, or they may just, I usually just include ease information, which I think is less intrusive and more practical. You don't really need to know what size the model is. You need to know how much bigger or smaller than the model the garment is, because that tells you how it's going to fit. So this Enwreathed Pullover is shown with 6 inches of positive ease. That means on Jane, and Jane and I have the same bust, that's why I have Jane. On Jane, I'm pinching it, and there's about 3 inches of fabric, and of course that's doubled, and that gives us the 6 inches, and that is the ease. That is how much bigger than the body is the garment. So that's what ease is about, okay? Positive ease means it's plus, it's bigger than. Negative ease, which, we could do this as a negative ease garment and make it all fitted and sexy, and do it with 0 ease or negative ease to really stretch over Jane's curves. And in that case, we would say, it's 0 ease, or it's a 1 inch negative ease. If you get a whole lot lower than that, you're probably going to be bursting out of your sweater. Just my feeling on it. So now the question is, what size are you? And for that, you need to know your actual bust size, and then add the amount of ease to that to find the size that you want to knit, at least in my patterns, and that's generally how it works. So if I knit the 44-inch size of Enwreathed, and I'm a 38. So now you know all that information about me, and there's 6 inches of positive ease. So you would want to choose a size, a finished size, that is 6 inches bigger than your bust size if you want the exact same. And the great thing about knitting is it's stretchy, it's flexible. There's some wiggle room in there, especially when you're doing positive ease. Sometimes even more ease looks amazing. If you were going to go with even more ease, I think I would probably make it a little more cropped. I think that if you make it really big and really long, you can tend to look lumpy, because it's just all this fabric covering you up. And that may be what you want. That you want a comfortable, slouchy, cozy sweater. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you no matter what, because remember, you are the boss of your knitting. But you should think about what looks good on you. Find that sweater, pullover, t-shirt, whatever that you have that you love. Remember that t-shirts are just sweaters knit on very tiny needles by machines. That is knitted fabric, right? It's all just tiny, tiny needles. So find a item you already have that you really like the fit of. You like the way you feel in it. It feels comfortable and what you're looking for in this sweater. Measure that, and you can use that measurement to look for your finished size. Okay, so don't get that and then add more ease. You want to just, when you are going from a garment, you don't need to add any extra numbers. You just want to look for a finished size that matches that. And if you're between sizes, there are a few things you can do. You can try and adjust the gauge. You can also, since we're doing top down, add a few more stitches. It would be, I think, 6 stitches to the front and the back. Maybe do it after you separate the sleeves from the body. So, if you're between sizes, you can do that, or you could do the larger size and then eliminate 12 stitches from the final increase. That might even be easier, because the final increase that we're going to do here is just going straight into stockinette. So that might be easy, but it depends on the look you're going for and what your shoulders are like. I have very squared off shoulders, so I could probably get away with doing that. But if you have delicate, narrow shoulders, you might want to just do the final set of increases to make it a little bit bigger, like halfway between 2 sizes. Do that after the split and just evenly do 6 on the front and 6 on the back. That would probably be your best bet for that. But to get back to, if you don't have a garment that you like, that you're really happy with, I don't have a whole lot of pullovers that I haven't knit myself. So I would tend to, I like to do my measurement and then figure out how much ease I want theoretically. But then maybe that's why I'm a designer. So you can measure yourself, and you can do, I would say between 4 and 6 inches for that comfortable, slightly oversized fit. I think beyond that, you get into a more dramatic statement making oversized fit, and that's fine too. I have made the sleeves fairly narrow on this because I felt like that would balance out the more oversized body. So that is something to keep in mind. One of my testers ended up deciding that she found the sleeve got too narrow too fast. So we went back, she pulled back up to here, and we figured out a better goal for decreasing and a rate that made more sense for her. So, that's the thing too. We're talking about being honest with ourselves and doing what we want, being the boss of our knitting. And you can be the boss of your sleeves as well. You can decide, you know what? I don't want narrow cuffs. I want it to be a little more roomy. I know that I like to wear a thick turtleneck under my sweaters because it's cold. I don't have that problem because I live in New York City. My apartment is always hot. So that is why most of my sweaters are lighter weight these days. So if that's the case, you can look at other sleeves for other sizes of the pattern, and you could change your decrease rate. You could decide, I want to keep my sleeve fuller longer, and so I'm only going to decrease every 7 rounds, and I'm only going to decrease down to the wrist for the largest size. And I would definitely check those numbers because it is a 2x2 rib, so it has to be a multiple of 4, and I've figured all that out for you. So definitely make sure it's a multiple of 4, otherwise you'll get annoyed. But you can be the boss, and you're custom making your own sweater. So go ahead and do those customizations when we get there, so that you get a sweater that you love, that you're happy to wear, that you're proud to wear, and people are like, wait, you made that? Like, it's that good. We can all make sweaters that are that good. And the way to do that is to be the boss and make those decisions, and start with my pattern as a guide. But definitely adjust it as needed. I have slim arms, and they are long. I should be like 2 inches taller. I have scoliosis. So I have really long arms. So I try to account for that in my patterns. But You may also find that they're just too long. You may have short arms. That happens. Everybody is different. So you also should bear that in mind, that if you're like, oh, I really only want a 17-inch sleeve, but for my size it's like written for a 19-inch, then you may want to just do 3 inches of ribbing instead of 5. Like I like to deep rib on the cuffs and a slightly less deep. It's 3 inches of ribbing on the hem and 5 inches on the cuffs. So you could just easily do that, or you could change your rate of decrease. Or if you have bigger upper arms, decrease more slowly up here and then get more rapid down here on the wrist, on the forearm and the wrist. So again, you can customize how you want. We also, we're talking about this as an oversized fit sweater. You could decide, you know what? I still need a little hourglass. I still need a little shaping. I don't like being in a boxy sweater. And there are people who feel that way, and that is awesome. And a lot of my sweaters do have waist shaping. Going back to the first season of the sweater, we did the Solstice cardigan that has a lot of like va-voom kind of waist shaping. So you could do that here. Just remember that we're going to be working this top down, and so you would want to do the shaping backwards. You would start by decreasing here at the fronts, and then you would increase back out down for the hips. So you can definitely add shaping to this. That's one of the great things about this kind of construction, is that it has room for that. I didn't write it like that. If you do waist shaping, you might need slightly less yarn. If your sleeves are shorter, you will probably need less yarn. If you decide to make it a dress or a tunic, or you have really long arms and you want long sleeves that you're going to roll the cuffs up, or you like them over your knuckles, you might need a little more yarn. So bear that in mind. I try to make my yarn quantities pretty accurate, and I don't add like a whole other skein's worth of yarn to my estimates. So if you think you're going to be between sizes, you're going to go up, or you're going to add something, or you want to do the cowl and the sweater, and then you're going to go make up some wrist warmers or something, then get that extra skein just to be safe. So that may be all I have to say about size choices. Just remember to be honest, to either measure a garment that you love and that fits the way you want this sweater to fit you, and then that's really easy, and then you just find the closest size to that in the pattern and you follow that. But you may want to customize it more. You may fall right between sizes and you're like, I don't want it any bigger, but I'm worried if it's smaller it'll be too small. Then you need to start making some customizations, and you can add a few, like I said, it's 6 stitches to the inch on here, I think. And so you could add, if you're going up half a size, you could add 6 stitches to the front, just spread them out equally. If you search for increasing evenly in a knitting pattern, there are some great tools online. I think the Diet Diary has some great ones that would help you figure out how often to do those increases. And you want to do that front and back, and that would add an inch to the front and an inch to the back. Like I said, you could also make that adjustment with your final set of increases after the color work. You could do 6 fewer on the front and 6 fewer on the back, and that would cut it down by half a size. So there's a lot you can do because you are the boss of your knitting. And I don't know how many times I've said that this episode, but we'll say it a few more times. I think I probably need to make a pin. I really do. But you're the boss, and you're going to make a sweater that you're going to love, and it's going to fit the way you want it to fit. And remember that you can do customizations, especially working top down. Not especially, to be honest, actually. I'm going to talk a little bit more about top down and bottom up in a later episode, but you can always do waist shaping, whether you are working top up or bottom down. You just have to know where you want it, and remember which way you're going, whether you do the increases or the decreases first. Actually, I totally take that back. You would always do decreases, whichever way you're going, and then you do increases. So, I don't know if you should listen to me at all because I can't think on my feet. No, I'm kidding. So this is where we're at with the sweater. You need to choose your size. And when you choose your size, then you can go and buy your yarn because you want to know how much yarn to buy. Okay. And then we are going to talk more about your yarn choices next time because I have lots of thoughts. And this sweater is a great example, and the swatch I'm working on, because I told you I'm going to be working on a new sweater design while you are knitting this one. Similar but not the same, 2-color yoke with, a simple body and sleeves. So, and it's a very different yarn choice. So we'll have a lot of good stuff to talk about next time about all the different factors that go into your yarn choice and what they mean and how they affect your sweater. And then that will lead us into your swatching, and we'll talk more about needles, and that'll be episode 3. So I think that is it for me today. Hopefully you've gotten your pattern. If not, there's still time, and it is on sale on Ravelry. And remember, if you buy the pullover, you get the cowl for free. But if you're just not up for it and you just want to do a cowl, you can always buy the cowl separately. But there will be a discount running for the first few weeks of this season, just so everyone can get in. So if you're watching this later, I'm sorry. Maybe next time. But if you are watching as these episodes are being released or listening, then there is a discount. You don't have to do anything. It will just be set up like that in the Ravelry shop. So you can go to KathleenDames.com/thesweater, and there will be links there to get you where you need to go. Or you can just go search for me or the Enwreathed Pullover on Ravelry and purchase your pattern and get started. And be sure to sign up for my newsletter. And when you do, I will email you on a somewhat regular basis, especially during a season of the podcast. And I will email you and I will tell you that the new episode is out. You can always hit reply on one of those, whether you're knitting the sweater or not. But if you have a sweater knitting question, hit reply and ask me, and I will get back to you, or I'll answer your question on the air. Remember, episode 5 is always a live episode. So some of those questions I may save up to talk about on the podcast. So that's it for this week. Next week we'll be talking about yarn, as I said, so be sure to tune in then. And thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. If you're listening on iTunes, please subscribe there, and be sure to rate and review over there. That's, for whatever reason, iTunes, even if you listen somewhere else, iTunes is the place to do reviews and stuff. So I hope you're having a great time. I hope you've got lots of good knitting on your plate, and I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye. This is season 4 of The Sweater with Kathleen Dames, and we are knitting the Enwreathed Pullover together. Many thanks to Biche Bouche, Swans Island, and Manos del Uruguay for making such delicious yarns, and Brooklyn General, Knitty City, and Swans Island Company for selling those yarns to me. Many thanks to my technical editor, my test knitter, and to you for being part of The Sweater with Kathleen Dames. To purchase the Enwreathed Pullover and or cowl pattern, visit KathleenDames.com/thesweater or find it on Ravelry. Remember that you get a copy of the cowl pattern if you purchase the pullover. While you're there, be sure to sign up for my newsletter so you won't miss an episode. Plus, you can always hit reply on a newsletter and ask me any questions that come up about sweater knitting. Posting your progress on social media? Be sure to use the hashtags Enwreathed Pullover and Enwreathed Cowl and tag me at Kathleen Dames. If you have a chance, be sure to rate and review on iTunes, even if you watch the YouTube version of this podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and happy knitting.